this repo is in the channel, please fork and clone it. That's what I'm about to do. It's in 102. The express dash warmup.
Oh, Sean slacked it out, not you.
Yes, Sean slacked it out. Sorry, not me.
That was from me. That's the cutest thing.
I did not. Do I have an express? Oh man. Holy shit.
That wasn't for you, right? You got what you
So I don't know if I have.
You got what you did for me?
Yeah, you're good. What was your question?
I was just wondering if there's any like command line stuff that there's something you already installed that I might be missing. Like I'm in the process right now.
I don't think so. Not that I know of. Man, the galvanized hoodie really sheds. I got a new one because I lost my old one, and my old one didn't do this, but my new one does. Yeah, look at that. Look how good that looks, guys. It's okay, there's a lint roll in the teacher's lounge. I'll use it later. Very high quality. Hell yeah, it is. Good lord. That leaves so much lint. Ah. That's okay. I'll make you guys do something. I'll grab a lint roller in a little bit. Cool. Have you guys forked and cloned it? Opened it?
Sorry. Let's do something special before.
No, you're good. This is start to finish. We're doing it all.
I'm happy.
There is cake in this. Yeah.
Cake makes everything better.
Okay, so we are going to my shirt. Okay. We're going to build a simple express server from scratch, as it says in our README here. We're going to write a route to get all of the cakes and possibly write a route to get one cake by ID. And this isn't as important because this isn't a warm-up. We're doing it as a walkthrough. So, okay, so first let's look at our data. There's so much. So we have, make it bigger. Yeah. Some big cake. You say carrot cake all day? Guys, what?
I'm like an equal opportunity. I think we're all too excited about this.
Okay. Bring it back. Wow. Ooh. Okay. 3. 4. Okay. Are you kidding me?
I think my favorite is red velvet. Who's with me? There you go.
Meredith, you cheater. Guys, I think carrot cake won.
Yeah, pound cake's where it's at.
Carrot cake won. Carrot cake at 4. Everything else at 3.
Carrot cake for the cream cheese fries.
Pound cake won?
Cream on the pound cake and some fresh strawberries.
Oh, people with pound cake did not raise their hands high enough.
That might be going too.
Okay, let's bring it back now. I forget. I always clap on recordings and it's so loud when you listen to it later. Or I'll tap this and then it's just obnoxious. So I'll try and not do that. Okay, so we have this beautiful JSON file full of different types of cake that all types of people enjoy. We want to just get just this whole array. That's all we want. Does anyone know what my first step is going to be?
Go to the Express website and copy and paste the
Require? Well, what am I going to require though? There's something pretty critical that I'm missing to be able to require Express.
So we have Thomas Express and Wire Express.
Object of the cake.
No, we don't need to do that because the JSON objects is a little bit different. But no, there's something, if you look at my files, you might be able to pick it up. What am I missing? Package JSON. I don't have a package JSON. So, NPM init.
There we go.
Close.
Init dash Y.
What does the dash Y do?
Automatically.
It autofills it.
Autofill.
Otherwise, you have to go through each one of these, and
I've
it's
always
just,
manually filled it out, so I just.
ugh, it's such a thing.
You can just make your own package JSON.
Ugh, I guess. But like, why would you want to?
Sure.
Yeah, you can. I think it's fast. It's, I don't know. In my mind, it's faster just to type npm init. But if you prefer to copy and paste it, do it. Cool. So now I want to npm I express. So I'm going to need that. If I want to require it, I have to install it. Sweet. So now I have a node modules folder and a package lock. And if we look at my package JSON, I have a bunch of stuff I didn't have in here before. One of them being a dependency, which is express.
So exciting.
Yeah, super.
Here's the part that I've been confused. Some say I think you do consult express, because some places they say consult express say.
Oh, okay. So the differences between these things. Yeah, let's talk about them. So in your command line to install stuff, you can do npm I to install something, npm I -s. Ooh, that's not an I. So close. Or npm install something -- save. So the dash, this is the same as this. npm I -s is the same as npm install -- save. The reason we do that is just to like be super sure that it will save it into our package JSON.
What about dash save dash dev?
That is specific. So that's saying like, hey, save it in our dev dependencies, not in our regular
Do we
dependencies.
not want to do Express as a dev?
We don't want to express a dev dependency because our entire app relies on Express. It's not just a developer dependency, it's a dependency for the app itself. So dev dependency is usually like testing things or stuff like that you're only going to use on your local machine. But if I were to deploy this,
We don't want them.
what does the app need to run? That's what's in your dependencies. If it's just for your sake, dev dependencies.
When you deploy the dev dependencies don't go out with it, right?
No, dev dependencies stay local. It's not going to install it all with it.
That'd be awesome.
That would be. Cool. So now you're right. I get to say const express equals require express. Oh no. And look at that. We have express now. Okay, what else am I gonna need? Const app? Yeah, express invoked is what we want. But I also need one more thing in here. I need access to my data, so how am I gonna do that? And as a quick refresher, why is there a / in front of this and not in front of this?
Because the data.json is in the same folder as everything else, and Express is inside the node modules.
Yes.
Like React.
So if it's something you've installed, you don't need to reference the file path. If it is a file you have to reference the file path. Cool. Okay, so here's the fun part of like actually writing the code to build the thing. Oh, what's up?
Don't we use import? Or is that what it is?
Yeah, that is important. Thank you. Okay, so what I did here is I assigned a variable to 3000 because I want this to run on localhost 3000. And then I told the app to listen to 3000. That's where I want it to run. So app.listen, and then whatever you want it to run on. When you start getting into development, where you actually like push it up to something and it runs not on your computer locally, you will want to say const this equals this, because you're going to have more stuff in here. Because this is only locally. 3000 only works locally. If we tried to like push this somewhere and have it run over there, it would immediately break because it doesn't have a port 3000. So then we have to write some other stuff in here later. So that's why it's nice just to get in the habit of using this now. And then when we have to add stuff into it, it's an easier transition. Cool. Okay. Did you guys cover get routes or a route in general? How comfortable do you feel guiding me through how to write one? Just like the start of it. 5? Or is that a hand raise? Because I thought it was a hand raise. Yeah, tell me how to write one. How do I write one?
Like a file path. Like, how would you write app.get, parentheses, then / the name of your route?
So it's not going to be dot slash, because dot slash is a file path. This is a route, so we just want the slash. Dot slash will break it. It's an important distinction I was going to touch on, so nice. Yeah, we want to call it cakes. Feels good. Okay, what are the 3 things I need in these parentheses? Next. And then you are right, there will be a fat arrow, and then open up some curly braces, and we can start writing the logic of it.
So are the 3 things in there required?
Yes.
I have one on here that we did earlier this morning, and it only has rec and rest in it. It doesn't have.
It doesn't have next. So we're doing next because we're going to start doing by ID, and so next tells it to go to the next function.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So if you only have like one route and that's it, you can just do rec and res. If you have more, you want to do next. You want to keep telling your app to move along, or the request to move along.
Does the order matter in the parameters?
I don't. Yeah, I think so, right?
Yes.
I've never messed with it.
Some languages have different systems where like the name of the thing is important, but JavaScript is just the order.
Cool. Yeah. So the order of these are important. Rec, res, and next. It's also generally easier to keep things like, even if in some world it didn't need it in this order, it's easier to keep things in a consistent order. Like when things are generally done one way, it makes more sense to stick to that, because if you try and go back and read it later, or if someone else tries to go back and read it later, it's infinitely more confusing if this is all switched around than if it's just in the order it's usually in. So try and make code readable, keep things consistent. Cool. So we're gonna play around in this a little bit before we just start serving stuff up. But first, let's npm start. We haven't done that. Oh wait, do I have a start script? I don't think I do. I don't. So let's make one. Oh, we don't have nodemon either.
Oh, no.
Let's install nodemon really fast. Cool, we're gonna install nodemon really fast. So it's infinitely easier to, okay, wait. Nodemon, is that something I'm gonna need locally, or am I gonna need that to run on my server when I eventually push it? Local? So what am I gonna do to install it? -G? No. Yeah, so it's --save -dev. Oh.
I think the dash
It has to be it. Yeah, like correct that. Nodemon.
It doesn't matter if you do dash save before the name.
That's not good if you just work with That's is that what you're saying? Yeah, yeah. So that's I did that a year or so ago, and have you met Alicia Holder, the other instructor?
No, we have not.
She helped me out and said that was a bad idea to put NodeMon in the start script, because then when you deploy it to Heroku just tries to run npm start and doesn't have NodeMon, and it's just like, yes, you can do something like that. That's another workaround right there. That's a good pro tip. So there you go.
What's up?
Something like Node and app.js or whatever.
Cool.
Okay.
That way you can, yep, perfect.
Okay.
Because Heroku doesn't know about npm dev, or yeah, that's just our thing. Just our own little thing.
They don't know about dev. It's secret.
Yeah.
It's local. Cool. So now if we look in our dev dependencies, we have NodeMon. Woohoo. And NodeMon, I highly, highly recommend always installing on projects. It's a pain to, if you need to see the command, it's a pain to have to restart your server every time you make a change. It takes a lot of time. It's like the difference in having light server or just trying to run like an indexed HTML file locally. It's a lot faster to have light server. Cool, so I'm gonna say npm run dev. And it's gonna run NodeMon on app.js. Let's go over here, do localhost 3000. Now, we don't have anything yet, because we're not returning anything, so it's just breaking. So let's go into our app.js. Do I need to slow down?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let me go back to my package JSON. I have dev as NodeMon app.js. So put these two things in your script, and then when you want to actually run it locally, do npm run dev. npm run dev.
Okay, there's a little error.
What error? Oh, like when you try to.
Yeah, okay.
This when you're trying to npm install. Oh, okay. It's npm run dev, not node. Yeah, so you're not. You have to control C.
Ooh, error.
I got an error too.
Can't find module.
Oh, yeah.
I got an app crash. So it crashed? Yeah. I could have messed it up.
That was just weird.
I did weird
What's my did?
Still crash?
Yeah. Crash, waiting for a file change.
Go to your app.js. Yeah. Go to your app.js.
I'm gonna need some help. Actually, I'm gonna need some help. What happens if you what does this mean?
So run that again. For whatever reason, I had to run my install.
I'll try to save, like, no, you can't save, you gotta go back. Look at the post it is.
Just close out the one on this. Which one is?
Do your install again, because for some reason I have to do mine
I'll try to save like that.
What are the errors happening in here?
Just press it up.
Okay, so get rid of all of this. And then reinstall. So let's close the one that's.
Base and actress
No, you're just close on the tree. Mine's doing it.
I like how everybody's still running, why is mine being naughty?
Did you grab those out?
Yeah, so I was just following along.
You're actually.
Well, she's done this. This is her facing away. I was trying to see like how mine's different. Yeah, this is.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it being so weird?
Okay, so you said restart it.
Yes. We don't have any.
Yeah, I mean, I just.
Probably not as well.
Can I see somebody's FJS file? Can I find
Yeah, you can go look at mine. I can give it to you, but we're gonna figure out his too. Yeah, I know what it can be.
I broke mine.
I think I figured it out.
Because I have all this.
Integration. That's okay. We're literally
I'm trying to.
Since I tried to save all
See,
these
on
on
my
my.
PMI Express. Yeah, if you are, when it's going over stuff, you can see what the box is running. Did you do implementing yet? Why? Yeah, so you got your technical.json. Yeah, you did all the same things I did.
So if you get cloned it into a file, and you hit CD into this file, it will already. Now, save it.
So.
We walked in and they had a bunch of like.
We were having.
Order it out of the computer and
And then clone it and then
Well,
save it,
we can,
and then it'll.
where to find your,
That happens like
your VS Code where you saw that, like the VS Code that you did this morning, you saw that over? Is
So,
that it? This morning? Or no, that's the one we were showing. So, you like, you showed, you just had like a bunch of VS Code. No, I mean like,
So you are going against.
yeah, this morning, yeah, and
now your execution on self. Okay, who, is anyone's broken?
yeah, that was the one we were just working on. Whichever one is from this morning, I think it was the daily programmer. But that was yesterday.
Beautiful.
Just keep scratching.
Go out there every time.
You're
Your node modules and your connectors on the website.
Oh, yeah, it's.
Trying to get going.
It all needs to be inside of the file. It's all better now. Okay, is anyone else broken?
What are we supposed to exactly be seeing right now?
I got errors. Is it supposed to say can I get?
Yes. If it says cannot get, you're good. As long as your server's running. We're not giving it anything to return, so it should say cannot get.
Okay.
Solid.
Well, thanks for letting us know that.
Well, we learned something.
Yeah, I think earlier I had that call for it.
Cool.
That's weird.
Is anyone's like, if you have errors in your terminal, it's broken. So does anyone have that? Cool. If it just says cannot get, that's fine. That's normal. It's expected. But errors in your terminal doesn't mean it's broken. Sweet. Okay, so we're up to speed. Just like a quick class-wide note. When you are npm init and npm installing and doing all of those fun things, you have to be inside the file you're working in. A lot of people were outside of the file, and it's not going to translate. It's not going to find stuff.
I did that
So-
myself this morning.
Yeah, so I happen to do a lot. So be inside the file, and it will work a little bit better. It won't always work. Sometimes there's other errors, but that's definitely like a good step one. Okay, so we finally have this. We have something happening. We have a functional server. It's not actually getting anything because it's not sending any data. But that's expected. We didn't tell it to send any data. So we wanted to send some data. Do you guys know how I'm going to do that?
Send it.
Res nuts.
He doesn't even need this breakout. What do I want to send? Not pies. We don't have access to pies.
Send cheesecake.
Pies. Okay. We want to send cakes back, right? So we want to send data. This is it. This is just a GET request to send all of our data through. It's very small. It's very simple. It's nice. So let's walk through what's going on here. So res is just short for response. Rec is short for request. So it's a little bit. It was easier for my mind to read this as response dot send. Yeah, you can rename it. I had mine as request and response because I kept mixing up rec and res because they looked too similar for me. So if you want to write out request and response, and if it's easier for you to read, do it. As Sean said earlier, the order is what matters in JavaScript, not necessarily the name. So we are sending this object back. So send is a method. So you open up some parentheses, and then it takes an object. So you give it a JSON object. So we're giving it a key of cakes with a value of all of the data from this JSON file. So let's go see if it worked.
Yay.
Look at all those cakes. All 5 of them. Is yours not working?
You got an extension on yours.
Yes, mine's pretty. I have an extension that makes mine pretty. If you would like that extension, I will find out what it is called, and I will slack it out.
Is it a Chrome extension?
Later.
It's just
Yeah, it's a Chrome extension. It's just like JSON or something. It's not like an exciting name.
Yay.
but it just makes JSON data look pretty when it comes through.
You have to put /cakes.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to put /cakes because that's what we made our route.
That's the key, yeah, the key.
I don't know, this is like magic.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
Yeah, so this, like 10 lines of code, yeah, you have to have /cakes after your localhost.
It's all the cake you need.
This needs to be your URL. Pew. So the route, yeah, the route, whatever we put here, that has to be at the end of the URL for this to actually be sent here. Because we can make another one of these that doesn't have cakes. It's just this. You can send message. Try again. So now if I try and get cakes off, oh no, it gives me a little message. So this is a URL without anything at the end. This is /cakes, which is what we want, which is actually sending us our data. Cool, so this part's a little bit complicated, but not as complicated as I initially expected it to be when I started learning Express. I thought it'd be much more difficult to give data to something. But this next part's going to be at least a little bit more complicated, but it's nice because it's complicated in a way that we're familiar with, which is just JavaScript. We want to get a cake by ID. Do you guys know the first step I would do if I want to get the cake by ID? I want to write a new route if someone asks for cakes/ID. I want to give it an ID. So what's my first step?
Set a variable with the data in it.
A variable with the data?
Yeah, right?
What
Oh,
data?
You know, we already have it set. So you're just gonna write a function.
Write a function?
For loop.
Oh, I'm going to write my get route first, I think. So what's that going to look like?
This cake.
Ah, I did that. Yeah, /:ID. So what this is doing is it's saying like, hey, whatever comes right here, I'm going to refer to it as ID now. So you're going to get something in this URL. You're going to get something in this query. I want whatever it is, : means to be referred as ID. So now in the rest of this GET request, I can just refer to it as rec.id, or rec.params.id, which we'll go into a little bit more in a second. And then same as always, I want rec, res, and next. And then I fat arrow and open up some curlies. Cool. So now I have a get route that's looking for cakes and then something after cakes. If there's something after cakes, it'll get sent here.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm gonna just put my logic to find the ID inside of this GET request, and then we'll move it out in a second, and we'll see what moving it out looks like. But I want to build it inside first. So first, let's capture this value somewhere so we can refer to it, because rec.params.id is a little long. So let's capture that. I'm gonna say let ID equals rec.params.id. I also want to take a quick moment to again go on my rant of everything's an object. Rec.params.id is dot notation. Request is an object. It's a request object. Params is an object inside of that request object that's referring to some stuff, the parameters of the request, and then .id is what we've named that thing inside of the parameters.
Got it.
Everything's an object. Cool, so first let's just console log out ID. Oh, I did it. Tap the table. Dang it. Cool, and then we can go over and look here, and we can say slash cakes, because I got rid of that, and then slash this long string of things. We might have broke it. I just threw a number in here. It's not a real number. I think I broke it. Oh no, see? It console logged this long number that I put at the end of the URL. Because anything that comes after cakes, anything that's inside of here is the ID. So that long string of gibberish numbers that I threw was correct. Like I could say Spencer is the best. And it will log the truth. Yeah, so anything that's right here is now referred to as the ID. Cool.
Okay.
So if this were production level, do you want to do some things to, oh, actually, no, we'll get into that in a second. Ignore what I just said. So what are we going to do to check if the ID that we're getting matches an ID inside of this array that we have up here? An if statement? An if statement for an array? For the whole array? For a loop, we're getting closer. There's this beautiful
Props. For each.
props. We're getting closer. It's similar to map it for each. Farther, colder, filter. One filter. If the ID matches, then give me that object back. I only want the object that matches the ID that I have.
Okay.
So if it gives me 1, the only thing I want back is this object. I don't want anything else. So if I filter this array with the ID of 1, it will only give me back something with the ID of 1. So let's do that. So I'm going to say let, what do I want to name it? Matching cake equal data dot filter. And what should I put in here? No, I want to keep it a single line, so I'm not going to throw curlies in yet. What logic do I want here? Ooh, yeah.
Yay.
Makes me so happy that this is the kind of code we're writing, like, and this is where y'all are at. This is super great.
Right? We're so far.
This is like real.
They grow up so fast, don't they, Sean?
I don't think, I think that sounds a little condescending.
That was purposeful.
It's because we call them both.
I mean, we just
Yeah.
call them the resident, like, adult, so.
Which I don't know why.
I know.
If I told like any of my friends that, they'd be like,
What? You're very adulty here.
This is cool that we're
very good at
writing
acting.
APIs and using filter and just
Yeah, it's super cool. Like the fact that like just a few weeks ago or like a month ago, this was impossible to figure out, and now it's like nothing to figure out that you need to filter through this to get this back, and you're doing that inside of an API that you are building. It's amazing.
I'm excited.
Get you full stack developers.
I'm
Not crying, so that's good. Cool. Okay, so now we have if there is a matching cake, we have it. So how do I send the matching cake?
Res.send.
I need this is making me especially.
And then this is going to give an array back. I don't want to give an array back because filter always returns an array, even if it's only one item. So I'm going to say, hey, just grab that at the index of 0. Just grab the one thing that's in that array.
Why do you have to put it in an object in a key value pair? Can you just put the variable cake bracket?
I don't know, let's do it. See what happens. Convention is my guess, but let's see.
I'm just curious. I was curious.
Ah, because nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
So it's looking for a key value pair.
So now let's try that again. And I get an empty object.
Okay, that's not.
Ooh, that's not good. This was expected, but like, oh wait, no. I thought these were in strings. Why is that happening? Oh, not expected anymore, guys.
So much cake.
Okay, so then.
Well, when stuff like this happens, the first thing we should do is panic, definitely, like.
100%. I immediately started crying. I don't know if you guys saw.
So, freak out, slash panic.
Is it because it's cakes versus cake?
Yeah. What?
I think it's cakes.
Nah, that
Versus
doesn't,
cake.
it still doesn't do anything.
Oh, you didn't even return cakes.id. Do you have cakes in your file or like the app.get?
Oh, yeah.
There's cakes. And then
Yeah,
you're
you
doing
said
cake.
cakes is a key value pair and send.
Once in a while.
Yeah, so this doesn't really tie in anywhere. This is just the message that we're sending. It's not actually referring to anything other than this.
You got some logs right there? Below?
Like return.
Yeah, so the logs are all working.
Cool.
Let's see if it was my LUT that messed things up, because that actually might be it.
Woo.
Nope. Okay.
I couldn't log
What
a
return
match.
cakes?
So it's 1 1 1 2 1 3. Huh?
Return cakes.id.
No, I named it cake.
Oh.
Wait, what should we be receiving? Like, what are we trying to
We were trying to get the cake object. So this guy.
Okay, buy it. So, one.
Expensive. So you just change the 3 equals to 2 equals and
To 2 equals?
yeah, because my match.
Yeah, I think that's the string.
Oh.
That didn't fix mine.
Yeah, I guess rec.params ID comes in as a string. That's good enough.
Yeah. I thought it was typed because it was JSON. I forgot that rec.param.
I wouldn't know. I mean,
I knew something was a string and I forgot what. Okay, yeah. So your URL is a string. So rec.params.id is string. So using type coercion, we can still get them to match.
So why do we do 2 instead of 3?
So 2 allows for type coercion and 3 does not. So 3 is a strict equals. Like this is be the same type and the same thing. 2 allows for a string of 1 and a number of 1 to match. Because they're different types, but it's the same character. So it lets it match.
That was a really good answer to like a common interview question. So just like stick that one away in the.
Yeah, pocket type coercion.
Yep.
Cool.
Sweet.
So I'll leave this up for a second and talk through it again. So what we have going on up here is we are declaring a variable named ID, and we're setting it equal to our rec.params, which is our request object, our parameters inside of that, and then we're finding the ID, which we have named. It's whatever comes after cakes. Whatever comes in here is our ID. Then we are filtering through all of the objects we have. We're filtering through that array. We're naming each thing cake, and we're returning cakes that match, that have the ID of the ID that was sent in. And then we are sending that off. We're creating an object with the key of cake and with the value of that object that matched. Cool. You still are? Cool. I'm gonna leave this up for a second and just make sure that all of it matches. And then if people are still having errors, I'll walk around a little bit more. You're getting all of them? You're all getting all of them? Interesting. Interesting. Interesting.
Just like local post 3000/Kate/.
Okay, it's not, it's saying cannot get.
Let's see. Alright, go to this.
So 21 will break it. I think happy idea 21. So 21.
Yes.
21 in, huh? The 21.
Repeat 21. Okay, whose is broken?
Right, let's see if that's.
It's usually a small.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I was like,
What'd you see?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Where it said, like how I have flower matching tape right here, hers was one thing, this space.
yeah, it's usually something like that.
So,
I had the wrong thing typed into my URL, so.
Oh, that would be bad.
anyone else's?
That is all.
Awesome. Cool.
Sweet.
So this wasn't too hard though, right? Like this was all stuff that roughly you knew how to do. You just needed the proper syntax to do it in a new way.
And this is all considered backend.
This is all backend.
I think it's kind of
Yeah.
magic sending things here and I don't know, it's fun to me.
Yeah, the request response, all of that is really, really cool. I really like it. You don't have to write a lot of code to feel very powerful as a developer, and I dig that. Trying to think if we want to. I think I'm going to call it here. Actually, no, let's touch on error handling. Let's do it. So what happens now is if we send something that's not 1 through 5 as an ID, nothing happens. But we should let our user know, like, hey, this doesn't actually exist. Like, the ID you're looking for doesn't exist. How do you think I'm going to do that? So I'm going to do it inside of this. I want to throw an error inside of this. I don't want to like create a new thing. This is going to be more of a simple if statement more than anything else. But how am I going to write that? So before I send anything, I want to say if something. I need matching cake needs to actually return something. How do I check if matching cake actually returns something? There's a couple ways I can do this. Okay. If matching cake woohoo, look how simple that is. Look how beautiful. It's just saying like, hey, if matching cake like isn't a thing, or is it dot length? It might be matching cake dot length. Like if matching like cake dot length does not exist because it's 0. So if it doesn't exist, then I want to throw an error. Else do this. Actually, I might have written that poorly, so let me test it really fast.
Something like that will work.
Oh, cool, it worked. Sweet. Okay. Okay. So if matching cake dot length does not exist, then that means nothing returned from this filter. It's 0, so the length matching cake dot length doesn't exist. So we're not gonna console log an error because that doesn't actually tell our user anything at all. Because if I go over here and I search for 11, it just never stops loading.
Fun times.
So we want to actually send something back to say like, hey, you failed. This is not an ID. Get your crap together. That's totally fine. I also, quick note, you don't have to have all of this stuff memorized off the top of your head of how to write an error message. Every time I open up and create an Express app, I have 2 go-to error messages that I copy and paste into the bottom of my code, and then I reference those if I need to write more. Every time. Because, I don't know, if you have it accessible, like why memorize it? Why take up more brain space? So we're not gonna deal with whole app error messages yet. I just want this little tiny case one because whole app can get confusing. So we just want to use this one right now. So let's look into another app that I have open because that's what I would do if I were developing this. So I have these complicated looking error messages here, but this is what I was looking for, the dot status. That's important. So the dot status is really, really what I want to send back. Because what's the status if the thing that you're looking for doesn't exist? 404. So we want to send them back a 404 saying, hey, the thing you're looking for doesn't exist. But then we should send a message back too, because just a 404 isn't helpful because that's like, yeah, if you look in your little networks tab in your dev tools, you'll see the 404, but you need a message like actually telling you, hey, this doesn't exist. So let's just give it a message that says, hey, this doesn't exist. And I'm going to get rid of this console log I have up here too. You don't need to do that if you don't want to. You can keep it. So what this is doing is response is an object that we're sending back. We're giving an object back to whatever requested this information. We are adding a status of 404. We're saying, hey, the value to the status is 404. Things did not go as planned. Let them know. And then we are adding an object of a message that's just saying, hey, like the ID you're looking for doesn't actually exist. And when we have breakouts later on error handling, we can get into how to more dynamically handle this, where it'll show like stack and things like that of like, hey, what actually went wrong in this app? Right now, we're just going to give them a message in a 404 error. So let's try it out. Let's look for 11 now. And oh, it didn't load for forever. It immediately responded with a message telling us that we messed up. The API didn't mess up, which is good. Cool. So now if we go anything outside of this, it just tells it doesn't exist, which is dope.
Can I see the app.js one?
Yeah, we'll hang on a second. So I'm not going to do any more than this. I'm going to recap what we did and call it a day, and we will dive deeper in further build and burns. Thank you, thank you. For all of you. I forgot to tell you, I'm quitting. I'm out.
Throw candy at you.
That was it. This is my last lesson. Goodbye. Encore. Encore Express lesson. Okay, so to run through what we did, we accomplished a lot in this, and you guys probably understood at least part of it. We installed a package, we required that package, and we actually made it so we can use this package now. Then we required a bunch of JSON data. We did this isn't exciting at all, actually, so skip it. We have I wrote a general GET request, you did not. We all wrote a GET request to cakes, so if they look for our URL/cakes, they will get all 5 cakes in response, which is awesome. And if they look for an ID, we made it so they will only get the cake back that they want, which is a pretty good API. Also, you're going to start getting way more annoyed at APIs now. Just a quick heads up, now that you can build them. If they act dumb, you're going to be like, why is this garbage? just to prepare you for that. We did a lot, and we utilized a lot of knowledge that we already had. That initially, when I started learning Express, I did not think anything that I learned before would apply at all, but a lot of it does. It's all JavaScript, so you're comfortable with it already. You just need to learn how to use the new tools that are given to you. Like Express, we need to learn how to do app.get and what reqres and next actually do and all that stuff. And we'll get more into next later too. It's not super important right now. But the cool thing is, as of right now, if you can do this on your own, or if you can reference this code and do it on your own from referencing this, you are fully prepared for our project on Friday. Because our project on Friday is to build a full stack app, and you guys can do that now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Ho ho. Whoa. Woo.